After some public prodding by President Trump, the Justice Department said this week it's considering tapping a special counsel to investigate Hillary Clinton and the so-called Uranium One deal. And the potential target called that an abuse of power.
You know, I regret deeply that this appears to be the politicization of the Justice Department and our justice system. This Uranium One story has been debunked countless times by members of the press.
Joining us now to analyze the coverage in New York, Amy Holmes, political analyst for Rasmussen Reports. And in Los Angeles, Leslie Marshall, radio talk show host and Fox News contributor. Amy, Jeff Sessions testified this week that he'll name a special counsel only if the facts support it, not on a partisan basis. But most media accounts that I've seen question whether President Trump, by speaking out publicly, by tweeting that Hillary Clinton should be investigated, kind of pushed DOJ into it.
Well, of course, because the media loves to focus on President Trump and his tweets, because that's a lot easier than digging into what happened with the Uranium One deal. And if anything, I think analyzing President's tweets, how might that affect Attorney General Jeff Sessions? It could go either way if you're going to play that parlor game. But I think what's more interesting here, Howie, is that it seems that a lot of high-ranking Democrats are actually more interested in investigating Uranium One than the mainstream media. You have Senator Dianne Feinstein, who's on both the Senate Intelligence Committee and the Judiciary Committee, saying she wants to look into what did the FBI know about criminal activity by this, Russian firm trying to gain influence in the American uranium markets. Elijah Cummings, a very, very liberal Democrat from Maryland, he says he wants to look into it.
Let me get Leslie in here. So the White House says, just for the record, that the president's had no contact with the Justice Department on this matter. And while he certainly has made his feelings clear that there should be a special independent prosecutor, are the media connecting dots that aren't there in terms of the president's involvement?
No. You don't need him to make a phone call or have a meeting. I think his, constant comments to the press and certainly his tweets have made it clear that Jeff Sessions is going to have to make a decision, in my opinion, which is, does he uphold the rule of law and justice in his position, or does he save his job? And I think that's a very real question that's coming down. The president, with his tweets, has made it known his disdain, if you will, for the Justice Department and the way things are
Leslie,
running.
when you say does he uphold the rule of law, you're prejudging the notion that there isn't any circumstances under which a special prosecutor would be warranted.
Well, if the facts are there, and even Sessions himself said that, Howie.
Yeah.
You have to have evidence. You have to have evidence. You can't just wait. You can't just waste taxpayers' money or the time in that position. That would be an abuse of the power by Sessions, and certainly a breach of power between the branches by the president. Since Watergate, this has been an independent office and has run that way. Do we want to change that now in 2017? And should we? Absolutely not. So Sessions is I don't think, in a tough position. I think it's very clear. What is your job? What mountain do you want to die on?
All right. Now Shepard Smith took a detailed look at this whole Uranium One case, a report that some Fox viewers didn't like. Let's just take a brief look at what the Fox anchor had to say.
The accusation is predicated on the charge that Secretary Clinton approved the sale. She did not. A committee of 9 evaluated the sale. The president approved the sale.
Amy, Shep went on to say that most of the Clinton Foundation donations that are at issue here came from a Canadian uranium company owner who sold his stake 3 years before the deal and before Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. So that's the argument against it, I think.
Well, I think that Shep is making his argument, and from what he's read, but I think we do need an investigation, and those investigations are underway to understand better how this all went down. And in fact, the more you read about it, the thornier it gets. So, for example, the Washington Post erroneously reported that no uranium left the United States of America. Now we have the Nuclear Regulatory Commission saying, well, in fact, it did. Some went to Canada, and some ended up in Europe and Asia. So I don't think we even know all the facts here, and a lot of the media are getting ahead of the facts.
It's a complicated matter. Leslie, MSNBC liked that Shep Smith report so much it replayed it for several minutes, but even if it's not a potentially criminal matter, and I'm certainly not prejudging here, it doesn't mean it didn't smell bad, all this money flowing to the Clinton Foundation, Bill Clinton getting high dollar speeches and that sort of thing.
If you look at the timeline, it doesn't. And I think that's one thing that Shep Smith put out. It was interesting because about a week before Shep did his piece here on the network, I had experts on my radio show who pretty much broke it down almost 100% in the way that he did, because I wanted to understand it. And if you look at the timeline and the fact that Hillary Clinton was not seated at the table of 9, and that is at the table of 9, that Russia does not have the license to export uranium, where the uranium has gone, look, I know some people say if it walks like a duck, I've said that, but I just don't see the duck here, Howie. And, if you want to have an investigation like we did with Benghazi, 17, to waste taxpayer time and money to find out there's no smoking gun, there's no there there, then so be it.
All right.
But there's no there there.
Just 20 seconds, Amy. How much of this is driven by media suspicion of Jeff Sessions himself and the Attorney General also under fire in the Russia investigation, which we'll talk about next block?
Right. I think it's driven in part by that, also because he was a long-serving Republican senator and a conservative one. And I think the media doesn't like a lot of the political positions he had when he held elective office. But I'd like to get back to Leslie already prejudging this case. A lot of conservatives, including myself, said, and when it comes to is there any collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia, let's investigate. Let's get the facts. I don't hear that same open-mindedness and curiosity coming from the left.
All right, got to go. I'm sure Leslie has more thoughts on that. Leslie Marshall, Amy Holmes, thanks for joining us.